Welcome. My name is Chris Moore. I'm Assistant Director of Music here at the church. We're so delighted that you're here with us today. I know why you're all sitting over on this side. You want to see his hands, right? Okay. It'll be just as good over here, too. Well, welcome. This is next to last program in our series. The Philharmonic will be here at the end of the month on a Friday night. By the way, I want to mention the committee has decided next year all of our programs are going to be on Friday. So we don't get confused. Is it Friday? Is it Sunday? So we're going to try to have all of our programs on Friday next year. Our program today was brought to us, or brought to our attention, I should say, by Norma Miyamoto. She was a dean at Palmer College, and Peter was one of the department chairs, so she got to know him very well. And we want to thank both Jack and Norma for hosting Peter while he's with us this weekend. Let me just tell you that the committee is working on next year's series right now. If any of you have a program that you think may be of interest to us, don't hesitate to get in touch with us in the next couple of weeks. We hope by the 1st of April we'll have next year's series all in place. So please feel free to share if you have an idea. That's how we found out about today's program. All right. Peter Gach is a pianist of wide-ranging musical interests based in San Diego. His repertoire extends from the complete Well-Tempered Clavier, Volume 2 of J.S. Bach, to contemporary works written especially for him. He's premiered works by Southern California composers and actively commissions new music for the piano. He's also Professor Emeritus at Palomar College, where he was chairperson of the Performing Arts Department and Artist in Residence in Piano. In his retirement, he initiated a fundraising campaign for the Steinway Concert Grand in the college's renovated Performing Arts Complex. It is named the Peter Gach Steinway. That's nice. In his honor, of course. His book, Perfect Practice, Perfect Performance, a handbook for musicians at work and on stage, is available for download, filled with practical advice and based on years of experience in both teaching, developing musicians, and personal experience. It offers real, time-tested solutions to the challenges of practicing and performing. Won't you join me in welcoming Peter Gach?
it's delightful to be here. I have never been in Naples. I've never been on Marco Island, so this is a very new experience for me, and just wonderful to have Norma and Jack to invite me and to share my music with you. The title of the program says recital, but I like to call these listening sessions because we're all listening to this music together. I hear it differently when there's an audience, even though I've practiced on this piano. And every time I play it, it's new, and I want it to be new for you as well. When I put together a recital program, I feel like I'm a chef in a restaurant, and I have a bunch of ingredients called my repertoire, and I have to take from that repertoire and choose which pieces are going to work. I try to introduce some local flavor. I try to make the pace of the program such that sometimes you're soothed, sometimes you're challenged, sometimes I sock you right in the middle of the ear, but then I'm nice to you afterwards. So fasten up your oral seatbelts because we're in for a little ride here. The first piece that you heard is by my friend Bill Bradbury. He calls it a dance, and you can feel the dance rhythm in the left hand while the right hand plays. We're in the process of recording all of his pieces that he's written for me over the years. This is one of the pieces of a series that he wrote for me several years ago. So it's what I call a amuse-oreille. It's to amuse your ear the way that in a fancy restaurant they say it's an amuse-bouche. They bring out something and say this is just a little something from the chef. So that's sort of to get us in the mood to hear some music. So now I'm going to give you a little brain tonic. So here is a prelude from the second book of the Well-Tempered Clavier of Bach. Each half, and this is what Bach is so good at doing, is an upside-down version of each other. So you're going to hear at the beginning the following theme. And then in the second half, he turns it the other way around. What went up is going down. What was in the right hand is in the left. So I'm going to stand on my musical head in the second half. So in my studio, I like to begin each day by playing some Bach. So here it is. Now, the good thing about this music is it's very dense and therefore good for your brain, but he also repeats each half. So if you didn't get it the first time around, you get another whack at it as well as I do. check the date on that because I want to give you a little historical perspective. So that was around 1742. Bach was in his early 50s when he wrote that. 30 years later, there was a composer named Joseph Haydn, and in 30 years, the style had radically changed. So when Bach starts a piece, the articulation of the notes goes da 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 da, and once he starts, it just goes till the end. It's sort of a perpetual motion of sound. My theory is that that's just about the time they were inventing clocks with the geared mechanisms, and I think that the culture was responding to the way that time was being measured, because all of a sudden time was sliced up into these little portions. That's just my theory. In the case of Haydn, you're going to hear a whole different style. Now, instead of just starting out and then keeping the same note values, teet, 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 you're going to hear fast and slow, fast note values, slow note values, and silences in between. So here is just the opening, and I'm going to exaggerate the silences a little bit so you can get a sense of that. Haydn is incorporating silence into the line of the music. So it's in 30 years, the style has completely changed. Bach went out of fashion, and he wasn't going to be revived for another generation when Mendelssohn rediscovered him, and Haydn's music became part of what we call a classical style, for lack of a better word. So this is a two-movement sonata. The first movement is a series of variations, so you'll hear that little idea, da-dee-da-dum. And if you listen, you'll hear that played in all kinds of ways, loud, soft, dramatically, delicately, but it's going to come back over and over again. Haydn was a very stingy composer, because once he had an idea, he squeezed it dry. He got every possible implication out of the idea as he played it. So it's a series of variations. The good part here is each half of the variation is repeated. You may be wondering why in the 18th, 17th, 18th, and sometimes in the 19th century they repeated things. I'm going to tell you a story from my distant past. My friend Krista Bogatsky was getting married, and the family did not have a lot of money, and they asked me to come and play the accordion at the reception so they could dance. I played the organ in church, I played the accordion, and I played the piano. And so I brought my accordion, and I had my little sheet music. I was about 10 years old, and I put on, they opened the sheet music to a polka, and I played the first page, and I played the second page, and then I stopped, and they looked at me and said, "Oh, you got to keep repeating it, because we got to get our dance moves in." So it suddenly dawned on me that the reason that dance music has repeats is so people can get their hoofing done, so they can get their dances in. And so that was and now what does that mean about this music? This music is derived from dance music. So dance music was one of the ways that musicians made their living, playing for dances, and dances used repeats so that people could dance to them. And that sort of became one of the gestures, if you will, or the structures of this music. So you will hear each of the halves repeated. Now what's interesting also is that when he comes back to the theme after a couple of variations, he then takes the theme and he then makes the variation of the repeat of the theme. So it gets kind of complicated at the end. And then after that, there's a nice perky little second movement that goes by very quickly. So here's some Haydn. going to zoom forward into the 19 teens and play a piece by Charles Ives. Charles Ives was one of the first all-American composers. Then probably the very first was Scott Joplin, who was a seminal composer combining African rhythms with European influences. But Charles Ives picked up some of that ragtime, combined it with European influences as well, and threw in some New England church music. And I thought, as I was doing my local portion of the program, well, what would be better than to play a piece of Charles Ives based on a hymn tune in a church? So that's a little local flavor. So I'm going to test you now, and I need to know if you know the name of this church hymn. What a friend we have in Jesus. Charles Ives was, at some point in his life, a church organist in Boston, and he would improvise compositions based on hymn tunes. He got fired because his improvisations were so wild that the congregation rebelled and said, we can't have this man here, get him out. But one of the fruits of his improvisation was this movement from his first sonata. It's the middle movement of 5 movements, and it's based on What a Friend We Have in Jesus. However, it is a somewhat fractured version, and in thinking about this piece, I was reading a book quite coincidentally by an art critic by the name of Robert Hughes called The Shock of the New. And one of the things he talks about in that book is how contemporary artists around the turn of the century, from the 19th to the 20th century, were reflecting the changes in the culture that took place. And one of the big changes, of course, was the train and the automobile, where the perception of horizontal space and speed were completely overturned. Prior to that, people either rode on a horse or they walked. So your experience of space is much different when you're walking than if you're in a train or you're in a car, and much less on a jet plane. So here is a little quote from Robert Hughes that I think will help you to understand the piece that's about to come to you. He says, the succession and superimposition of views unfolding in a landscape of flickering surfaces as one was carried swiftly past it in a car or a train, and an exaggerated feeling of relative motion compressed more motives into the same time. It left less time to dwell on any one thing. And I think that's what you're going to hear in this piece. So you'll hear What a Friend We Have in Jesus, but it's going to be fractured and moved around. And as soon as you grab onto an idea, he's going to switch to another idea, and then another, and then another, and another. So Charles Ives would like to laugh and say, I'm going to stretch your ears. So right now, this portion of the menu, you're going to have stretchy ears. So What a Friend We Have in Jesus, as seen and heard by Charles Ives. now I'm going to soothe your ears by playing a Chopin nocturne. I sometimes call these lullabies for adults, so I don't think it needs an introduction, so here it is. Now Chris is going to make an announcement.
Thank you, Peter. We're going to give him a little break here. And I don't know about you, but I don't think I will ever listen to What a Friend We Have in Jesus again in the same way. If any of you are familiar with Jackson Pollock painting, it's kind of like listening to Charles Ives. Anyway, we're going to take the opportunity right now for you to help support the series. So if our volunteers will come forward, we're going to pass the plate around. One of the things that attracted me so much when Norman told me about this program is that Peter would be talking about the music, and I think education and his being an educator certainly gives us a lot more depth about the music that we're listening to. And that gives me an opportunity to plug a series on the Messiah that we are doing here in the church right now. We've already had our first session, which was this past Tuesday at 1 o'clock. We have 3 more sessions coming up. This coming Tuesday at 1 o'clock, and then the following 2 Tuesdays, it's in Disler Hall. This week's topic, also on the Messiah, is called Handel and the Scandal. The next week is what does Oliver's Travels and the Messiah have in common? Think about that one. And the last one is From Fishamble Street to the Flash Mob. It's a fun series, and I hope that you'll take an opportunity. If you can't make it, they are going to be on YouTube because we are recording them. So as soon as we are done here, we will get back to today's program.
So I'm going to conclude now with a piece tailored for you in the sense that we're on Marco Island and I'm in Naples, so I'm going to Italy, lots of water. How about the Chopin Barcarolle? That would be perfect, and it would be very fitting to be in a place surrounded by so much beautiful water. So for those of you who don't know, a barcarolle is a Venetian boat song. The gondoliers in their long black gondolas would stand at the back and they would row back and forth with their oar, and the opening rhythm of the barcarolle is the rhythm of the oar going back and forth. Then the gondoliers sometimes sing songs, probably for an extra tip. And if there are 2 gondolas together, then they'll sing a duet, and you're going to hear the duet also. Now, here's the amazing part. Chopin never went to Italy. He never rode on a gondola. He never heard a barcarolle sung in the authentic way. He probably heard barcarolles as part of an opera. He was a big opera fan when he lived in Paris. He may have heard some barcarolles or played them, composed by Felix Mendelssohn, who in his songs without words included some barcarolles. But he took this form which was unknown to him, and he managed to capture all of the magnificence of Venice in this amazing piece. So I'm just delighted that I'm surrounded by water and able to play it for you. So here on Marco Island is a piece called Barcarolle. Would you like dessert? It has another name, but I'll let you guess what it is. Thank you. I'm going to attribute this to memory loss and old age, which some of you may be familiar with, because I forgot to play the Szymanowski. So I'm going to play just one of them. It's the Etude in B-flat minor. It's a beautiful romantic piece, and I'll conclude with that. So my apologies. I had prepared the Szymanowski, and then I think maybe some of you may understand that, but here is a Szymanowski etude.
Peter, thank you so much for sharing your music with us today. We're going to let you go on out to the lobby so you'll all have a chance to say hello and meet about there. Thanks again. We'll look forward to seeing you at the end of the month for the Naples Philharmonic. Thank you.